here's a 2.47 gigahertz signal, a 3-second period, and a 400 millisecond pulse width. And I will set up my FieldFox here to look at that signal. And let me turn on the preamp and set attenuation to 0 dB. Let's move it up a bit. And you can kind of see the signal every once in a while. If I go into max hold and do marker to peak, there's my signal. Okay. Now I'm going to just go back to regular, and I want to trigger on that. So I will go ahead and set up, I'm going to do record playback first. Let's say new session. If you're saving the CSV data, it's good to go to all traces, just to have it. And we're going to set up a frequency mask trigger, and we will come and actually what makes it easier for frequencies if you set it up to show start stop as annotation, because when then you go into mask trigger, you're expected to enter the frequencies in start stop format. So it's 2.465 gig, and I'll set it around minus 90 dBm, 2.475 or 2.475 gig minus 90 dBm. And there's my mask. Got to make sure you turn it on in recording configuration. And you want to use it in conjunction with segment count, because if you don't set up a segment count, once it sees the trigger, then from then on it always measures. Actually, let me show you how this works, just so it's clear. If I say record player, record, it's not recording, but now it's just continuously recording, because as soon as it sees the signal, it takes it as meaning you need to record. So let's close this session. Let's start a new session. And here instead I will set the segment count to 1, meaning as soon as you see it crosses the threshold, make a measurement, but then stop afterwards. So here I say record, and it made a measurement, then it paused again, and about probably 3 seconds later made another measurement, and at 48 it'll make a measurement. And here I have a pretty low minus 91 level, which is what you want. And this is frequency mask trigger. Frequency mask trigger, as the name implies, it's working on the frequency domain data. Now we will stop this. Just close it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do the same thing with triggering. So if I go to sweep, trigger setting, change it to video triggering, and I'll set the level at 90 dBm. Even though it looks like this signal is not crossing the threshold, it's just continuously triggering. It's never pausing. And the reason for that is the video trigger is actually working on the time domain data. It's working on the time, the raw measurement in time. And to see that, and it's roughly working on it, there's some things on the path. If I go ahead and change this to 0 span, and also make the bandwidth the widest, which is 5 megahertz, to get something closest to the measurement you're seeing in time. Let's go to sweep, go to free run, and we have the preamp on, we have no attenuation. This is kind of the signal level that you're seeing in time, which is why when you set the trigger level to 91, it's always triggering, because it's higher than that. If you scale this to 5 dB, a finer scale, you can kind of see the signal there. Now I will go back to setting up, let me go back to my frequency domain. Let's go to last span. And if I go to where was it? Sweep, trigger setting, video trigger. Oh, I see. Let's go to bring it back up so we can see it. And I still have this pulse that comes on sometimes. If I go to sweep, trigger level, if I go a little bit higher, it's around, but my signal may not, I'm going to use the knob. If I want it to occasionally trigger when it sees that signal, I've got it around minus 76, somewhere around here. It's hard to see in this image because this is the frequency image, but if you look at the time, it's somewhere around this minus 74, which is occasionally it picks it up. You really can't go really lower because, as you saw in the, if we go back to the zero span, where was it? Sweep triggering, free run, and go to the min 5, go to the widest bandwidth. You can see here that that's really your signal level. And you go into RTSA mode, which is what you had initially requested. It's even a little bit higher, the video triggering path. So the way to really address the request of higher sensitivity is to implement frequency mask trigger in RTSA mode. So you're actually working on the frequency data, not the time data. Just so it's actually a mask, then that would apply to this data.